Okay, I think that is probably enough time. We will go ahead and get started. And if some more people trickle in, that is fine. And yeah, they can come back and check out the video because I will upload this when I'm done. Okay, so to start, I've put together a pretty detailed presentation here on different ways that people anywhere in the world can make money from their own home. And I've put a special emphasis on businesses that work in the Philippines. And we're going to do this in three sections, I think. The first section, I'm going to explain two particular platforms that should be good for you guys to start with. And I'll basically increase the ideas in order of complexity. So we're going to start with the three easiest things that anyone can do, or rather, the easiest thing that anyone can do, and then ramp upward from there. And then once I've described the three basic platforms that people should take a look at, I've also got a list of 100, yes, a full 100 individual businesses that can be started with little to no capital investment. And I've even got examples of other Filipinos who have done this successfully in the past. So when we get to that portion of the presentation, I'll be asking you to indicate your interests and specific ideas in the chat. And then I can give you links to other people that have successfully done this in your own country. And you should be able to take a look at them. And that combined with my notes should be a good place to start. So we're going to start with the first and easiest opportunity. I will paste a link to this in chat. This is a Reddit link to a community called Beer Money Opportunities. And this is the global version of it. This is basically ways that you can earn, a few dollars doing a variety of different things, all of which can be done from home online for the most part, and pretty much anyone can do them. It will involve, taking surveys. Let's refresh it and take a look at it right now and see what's up there. So right now they've got a post about doing some AI tests and signing up for some apps and referral code stuff. This Reddit community, I have used the US one before, and the global one is offers that are available to people outside the US specifically. So if you bookmark that Reddit community and just take a look at it every couple of days, it's going to be very easy stuff, taking online surveys, doing focus groups, maybe downloading apps and rating them or giving your feedback on them for new games or programs or whatever. Pretty easy stuff. And you're not going to be able to make a ton of money there, but you can make enough to have it be a very good side gig. This is probably especially good for college students, people that already have a day job, stuff like that. You can kind of come home, take a look at the site, see what's on there, browse around, and maybe earn a few dollars here and there. So not really very much to say about that other than it's a good thing to bookmark it and check in once or twice a week. See if there's anything that catches your interest that you feel that you would be able to do. Again, pretty much everything that you see on there will require no skills or training or anything like that. Just a little bit of time and an internet connection for the most part. So that is the first and most basic one. And moving up from there is a website called Amazon Mechanical Turk. And I will post a link in the chat right now. What Mechanical Turk is it's a cloud service run by Amazon company. And basically they have these tasks on there that are called HITs, HIT. And that's an acronym that stands for Human Intelligence Task. And it is a way for Amazon to allow companies to kind of outsource work that can't be easily done by computer. So, as an example of some of the things that can be done on Mechanical Turk, um, large companies may want to update their databases. Go through, try to find and identify duplicate entries in them, maybe proofread them for typos, those sorts of things. Picture or image recognition. There's a fairly wide variety of work there, and it's all quite easy. It's a mixture of skilled and unskilled tasks on Mechanical Turk. Some of them are going to require a little bit more technical info or computer savvy, and some of them can be done by everyone. But for the most part, almost everyone should be able to use it. Now, one of the downsides I found out about Mechanical Turk in my research is that it appears they're kind of hit or miss with people in the Philippines. That is changing. They're trying to add new countries every year. And apparently, they are one of the larger groups. I think something like 1% of the total number of people working on there are from the Philippines already. So they are accepting people. They do not, however, disclose what their registration qualifications are. So I recommend that everyone go to the site, try to register for it, see if you're accepted or not. I've read some stories that some people are accepted immediately. Other people, it can take a few weeks or even a month or two before you get accepted. There were even some stories of people from the Filipinos who do their initial registration, don't hear from them, and then come back 3 or 4 months later and finally get approved. Now, one of the good things about MTurk, as it's abbreviated, compared to the Beer Money site, is that there's essentially an unlimited volume of work available. Now, I did some research on what the average wage for MTurk earners are, and they typically earn between $2 and $6 USD per hour, something like 100 to 300 Filipino pesos per hour, which is pretty respectable, especially for essentially unskilled labor that you can do at your own pace, in your own free time, whenever you care to work. You don't need to commit to doing certain hours. You don't need to, be sure that you're online for a certain number of hours per day. It's basically, if you're approved, you log into the platform, you see what hits are available, you accept a hit, you complete the hit, you get paid. So very easy, very simple, and a fairly nice wage. Top earners, they're called masters on MTurk, can earn upwards of 500 Filipino pesos per hour, which is a pretty good wage. So if you do have some basic computer skills or are, a cut above the general public in terms of the hits that you're able to successfully complete, you can earn pretty nice money there. And I don't really have too much else to say about that platform. So we'll move on. This is the third platform I want to recommend. And this is the one that I use myself personally. Um, and it is called Upwork.com. Upwork.com is the world's largest freelancing site. Now, this differs from MTurk in that almost everything on there is going to require some basic skills. However, you will still qualify, even if you feel that you don't have skills, you will still qualify for some things. For example, there will be Tagalog to English or Waray to English translation jobs available on the site, or vice versa. People want to translate blog content, they want to translate news articles, maybe product descriptions that are used on a website, various things. So even if you feel that you have no skills, you still probably can find work there. And on Upwork, that's where I do my day job every day. I'm an online marketing specialist. I do business consultation and high-end copywriting and a variety of other tasks. I'll occasionally build websites for people there. I'll do SEO, social media management. That's something that probably every young lady on the site qualifies for. You're all very, very good with social media, much better than me. And you can earn probably 500 to 1,000 pesos hourly doing social media management work for Western companies from the Philippines. And for example, what social media management work is you would be involved with companies who use social media platforms like Facebook or Instagram or other platforms like that, Twitter, to kind of try to drive business to their website. So you would be responsible for kind of creating and scheduling posts for them, making sure that the links to the company are good, monitoring their traffic over time, and coming up with strategies to try to increase that traffic. Social media manager is probably something that every young lady in her teens or 20s would qualify for just based on their own personal usage of social media. And there is basically every single skill that you can imagine available on Upwork. And one of the nice things about Upwork is, again, you're not necessarily, there are some jobs on there that are hourly. So, for example, if you want to be a customer service representative, you could, they'll hook directly into your phone, and you would typically have an app that you sign into, something like that. And you would be on the other end of a help service number when someone calls it. And pretty much everyone that I've met in WAGME has good enough English skills to be qualified to work as a customer service agent for a Western company. Customer service jobs typically would pay between 250 and 750 Filipino pesos per hour. So the pay can be quite good. And this is, again, some, like, if you're going to be a dedicated CSR or customer service representative, that may require you to have a dedicated work time. You may have to be available from, 9 to 5, or, whatever the hours may be, to take that sort of job. Other jobs on there are going to be based on a flat fee schedule. So if you're going to do like some Tagalog translation work, they might say, okay, here's the text that I want translated. This is the deadline. And you're paid a flat fee. So for a project like that, you might have, 2 weeks to translate a dozen blog articles from English to Tagalog or something like that. Um, there's, literally hundreds of thousands of projects are posted every day on Upwork.com. And the better the reputation you earn over time, the more of a higher wage you can command on that platform. So as you start out, you may have to take some lower paying jobs. And once you've completed one or two of those, gotten ratings from your customers, you get, perfect rating, then you can kind of begin increasing the wage that you command over time. And I remember when I started in the USA, the first year I started, I think I did my first project was just for a single dollar, $1. And then I ended up not getting paid because the project was a scam. And that's a long story. So I won't bore you guys with that. But I started out very, very humble. And then I think by the end of my first there, and I've gone up significantly since then. And I've been doing it more than 10 years now. So Upwork is a wonderful platform. I have a lot of information and can help you guys. If anyone chooses to get started there, I can do a follow-up presentation on how to create a good profile, how to write good cover letters for the positions that you might be seeking. But for this introductory presentation, we will leave it there. So that covers the three basic platforms that I wanted to discuss. The first being that Reddit link to Beer Money Global, the second being Amazon's Mechanical Turk, and the third being Upwork.com. And all of these programs can actually be done simultaneously with one another. And I encourage everyone to do that. When you become a freelancer like this, basically, it is 100% on you to get out there and hustle and find the opportunities and apply to them and see what you can get. So, you got to have your fingers in a lot of different pots. Try a lot of different things until you kind of get in your own groove and find out what works for you in particular. And yeah, I highly recommend, doing all of the above, especially when you're getting started. Then, once you have gotten started, you will get to the point where you now are having more interviews on Upwork and more potential projects on MTurk than you have time to do. And that's exactly the place where you want to be, because that's the point at which you can start kind of picking and choosing between projects that maybe interest you more than others, or projects that pay better than other projects, or a combination of both. Maybe you're a college student, so time flexibility is very important to you. So once you've been at this for, I would say, probably 2 to 3 months, you probably will be at the point where you can begin being a little bit more selective about the projects that you pursue and the invitations to interview that you accept. And hopefully, you should be able to find kind of a balance between these different projects that work out well for you. I also want to give one last shout out. I know I said I would only do three, to a website called Fiverr.com. I'll put a link to that in the chat also. I did quite a bit of work for them personally as well. And I'm actually thinking about re-enabling my account. I haven't been accepting orders there for many years, but that's another place. It's kind of an interesting thing. Like, that website is built around, I will do XYZ for $5. Now, it doesn't have to be $5. You can kind of have more complicated projects that you have a higher price for, but that is how the website got its name and how it got started. And there are a couple Filipino things that could work very well. Like, for example, with some very basic graphic design skills, you could create customized e-cards for people that have photographs from one of the beautiful beaches that you all have over there, and sell them on Fiverr for $5. And maybe you personalize it in a little way, have some funny images, or, make some memes out of it, or what have you. So, hop on Fiverr, see some of the things that are out there. That also is an honorable mention. So, moving on from here, I am now going to go through a list of 100 separate business ideas, all of which will work in the Philippines. And for most of these, I have either a link to a guide from someone that has successfully done it, or in certain cases, a link to a well-known Filipino national who is currently doing the business. So, because it's going to take a while to get through a list of 100, I am just going to give like a 15 or 20-second quick intro to each idea. And then, if you are interested in it, go ahead and say something in the chat, and then I can talk about that specific idea a little more for a minute or two. So just give me like a thumbs up, or say, the number. I'll number each of them as I go through them. Just put the number of. So these also are in no particular order. Some of them are probably not realistic. Like, there's one or two in particular that would require probably a substantial amount of investment or capital to get off the ground. I wouldn't expect that is something that you could get into immediately, especially as a young person. But I'm not sure of everyone's age, or family situation, or things like that. So I just wanted to basically get to 100 and make it a nice round number for everyone. Most of these ideas should be available to people with little to no skills or training, and little to no investment. So the first business is a drop shipping business. Basically, this is you selling someone else's product online, and they handle the order fulfillment, and you handle the online sales or administration. So if you'd like to hear a little bit more about drop shipping, go ahead and put a number 1 in the chat. The second business idea is earning commissions through affiliate marketing. You guys probably are already familiar with this practice. Like if you've ever watched YouTube videos and they have a sponsor and they say, hey, visit this website and order some products from this website. And if you put in my special code, you'll go ahead and get a discount. That's affiliate marketing. Basically, it's you do the job of the legwork, trying to drive traffic to someone's website and sell them a product or service. And you, in return for doing that, get a cut of those sales. So if you would like to hear more about affiliate marketing, go ahead and put a number 2 in the chat. Number 3 is becoming a live seller on Facebook. So I'm sure that you guys, at least those of you who use Facebook, have seen that they have a marketplace there now. And you can basically sell pretty much anything on Facebook Marketplace, clothes, random stuff you might have around the house, toys, gadgets, a variety of stuff. So you can make a fairly good living kind of buying stuff and then reselling it on the Facebook Marketplace. If you would like to hear a little bit more about live selling on Facebook, go ahead and put a number 3 in the chat. Number 4 is teaching English to non-English speakers. Believe it or not, you guys are, almost all of you, at least everyone that I've talked to, is definitely qualified to teach introductory level English to people. You have to remember, you guys, I know, were exposed to English throughout almost all or all of your primary schooling. A lot of people in the world were not. So they are really starting from scratch. And you're not going to be teaching Shakespeare classes online anytime soon, but you can teach intro English or maybe business English. You all definitely have the level of proficiency level needed to do that. And there are a bunch of different sites like 51 Talk, BizMates, Weblio. This is one where I actually have a guide from a Filipino who set up their own business teaching English to foreigners online. If you would like to hear a little bit more about that, go ahead and put a 4 in the chat. 5th idea is data entry. This is something that you can find on both Fiverr and Upwork. And basically, you are just putting information into a document of some sort. Typically, it's a spreadsheet. Sometimes it can be a scanned PDF or other things like that. Sometimes it's numerical, sometimes it's alphabetical, sometimes it's a combination of both. This does require a little bit of skill because data entry is typically paid at a flat rate per metric of completion. So they might say every 50 entries into a database that you make, you get paid X number of dollars. So what that means is that the faster you are on that 10 keypad on a computer, or the faster typist you are, or a combination of the two, the more money you can make. Data entry is a job that there is a never-ending supply of. And if you are a fast and accurate typist, you will never be out of work. Rates on that typically aren't super high, but it again is something that you can probably command 250 to 500 Philippine pesos an hour for doing. If you'd like to hear a little bit more about data entry, go ahead and put a 5 in the chat. 6th idea is starting your own YouTube channel. As those of you who have already subscribed to my channel, thank you very much, by the way, know, yeah, y'all know YouTube. Everyone in the world knows it for the most part. And doing YouTube videos is something that you can eventually earn money with. It takes a little bit more time to get off the ground than the others because you have to do the work of creating the content, building a user base, getting people interested in hearing what you have to talk about. But once you've done that, you're able to monetize your YouTube channel in a variety of ways. You can have a Patreon or Locals account where people subscribe to you on a monthly basis and give you contributions just because they like the content you're doing. You can combine it with affiliate marketing, like we talked about a little earlier. Once you get to a certain level, companies will approach you and look to sponsor your videos and offer to pay you for doing that, basically. So YouTube, it does take longer to get off the ground, and it isn't going to be as much of an hourly wage. But if you already have, any pretty much any subject on earth, if you have a passion for it and have a knowledge about it, you can probably make entertaining and engaging content and build an audience over time. And then once you've built the audience, you can monetize it in a number of ways. If you'd like to hear more about YouTube, go ahead and put a number 6 in the chat. Number 7 is selling videos online. Basically, if you're good at shooting or editing videos, you can make a really good living. High-end video editing work typically, I got to break out my calculator for this one because I know the USD volume, but if you are a very talented and quick working video editor, you can probably make between 1,250 Philippine pesos and 2,500 Philippine pesos on an hourly basis, believe it or not. Video editing is tough, demanding work. There are not a lot of people out there who really are able to execute it at a top level. If you're able to, record your own videos, maybe, I don't know, you do yoga. Maybe you play the guitar and want to, show some fingering work and do intro to guitar lessons. Wedding video that people take, that's another thing. They're always looking for someone who is good with transitions and editing and fun effects and can maybe take video of a birthday or wedding or special event and kind of turn it into something special. So if you are a good video editor or have a skill like that, you can sell or edit videos online and make very good money. That's even good money for people living in the USA, let alone the Philippines. If you want to hear more about that, put a 7 in the chat. 8th business idea is live streaming. I'm pretty sure that most people we're in a live stream right now. So you all clearly know what live streaming is. A very popular example of this is video gamers who live stream on Twitch, but people do live stream on YouTube. There are other sources out there as well. And basically, if you can put together entertaining or informative, interesting content, you can create a live stream. And this is kind of the same as a YouTube channel. It's not really going to pay you a lot of money out of the gate, but if you put in the work to develop good content and build an audience around it, you can then monetize it pretty easily once that initial work is done. If you'd like to hear more about that, put an 8 in the chat. Number 9 is creating an online course. Basically, like you may have heard of sites like Udemy or Skillshare. Those are probably 2 of the biggest platforms. But basically, if you have a skill, you can create a multimedia course and list it on these platforms and sell copies of it to people. So again, it can be about pretty much anything under the sun. I highly recommend, I love Skillshare. I've got an annual subscription to it. It's just skillshare.com. Go ahead and visit it. And you can see, all the different courses that people are putting online. And if you feel that you have a similar or related skill or could put together a better course than some of the people on there, that's another interesting way to make income. And one particularly interesting aspect of doing this to make money is that basically you build the course once and then you can sell many copies of it to people over time. You don't have to redo the course every time you sell a copy of it to someone. So this is good for what is called passive income. You do the work one time and then can continue to sell the same work for months or even years in the future. If you'd like to hear more about that, go ahead and put a 9 in the chat. Next business idea is selling homemade food online. So I've seen from all of the food pictures that appear in the chat channel, I know we've got some talented cooks out there. And believe it or not, you can actually sell food on Facebook. I'll actually see if I can, I'll put a link to something that is from the Philippines. Someone is selling marinated chicken in Sariaya or Sariaya. Boy, I'm probably butchering the city. Calabarzon. So this is a picture of someone who is selling their homemade food on the Facebook Marketplace. So if you are a talented cook, you can go ahead and sell your own food online or even build a website to do it. Lots of ways to do that. If you'd like to learn more about how you can sell your cooking online, go ahead and put a 10 in the chat. Number 11 is answering online paid surveys. You will find these on the Beer Money Reddit community I linked very frequently. And basically, companies hire marketing firms to get a bunch of people from different places, different age groups, different genders. Sometimes they're looking for the opinion of moms. Sometimes they're looking for the opinion of middle-aged men. Sometimes they're looking for the opinion of people who enjoy video games. Basically, any kind of demographic that you can come up with, there's someone who wants to know your opinion on something and will pay you for your time. And there are a number of websites that have a bunch of different surveys on there, and you can kind of sign up for them and punch in a little bit of info about who you are, what your age is, all those sorts of things, and then it will recommend you different surveys that you can answer and get paid for doing so. If you would like to learn more about answering surveys, go ahead and put an 11 in the chat. 12th business idea is starting and monetizing a blog. Pretty much everyone knows what a blog is these days. It's basically just a website where you write regular articles, maybe do some links to different things. There's blogs on every topic under the sun. So again, mommy blogging is very popular these days. Challenges you might face, or you're a college student and you want to blog about life at college, pretty much anything, as long as you can tell an interesting or engaging story and turn these into written stories or blog posts, you can build an audience over time. And then much the same as with the live streaming or YouTube, once you have an audience built up, there are different ways to monetize them. If you would like to learn more about blogging, go ahead and put a 12 in the chat. Okay, before we move on, it looks like we had a few people interested in paid surveys. Okay, so we'll read the whole bit I've got there on the paid surveys bit. Okay, lots of companies hire out firms to gather information about their prospective customers. One of the ways they do this is by giving out surveys that anyone can answer. In exchange, the participants can earn several pesos per survey or some kind of incentive like a voucher or gift card. Different companies pay in different ways. I will go ahead and put a link to one site that has a, well, let's see if it's connecting. Okay, this is a site that does that and specifically has surveys for people in the Philippines. They have their own Philippines-based portal, TGM Research. They have interesting surveys on there. Anyone can participate and answer it. And you're not going to make a ton of money doing this. It's probably going to be a few dollars per hour. So maybe something like 200 pesos per hour, give or take. And they may be limited also. Like there's not going to be unlimited surveys for you to complete as a Filipino, but still maybe you check in once a week and go through all of the surveys that are available to who you are demographically, based on your age, gender, location, interests, whatever they might be looking for. And maybe you visit once a week and spend an hour or two doing the surveys and make 500 or 1,000 pesos for a couple hours of your time once a week. Um, there are a couple other sites I got for you guys too. I will post them in the chat as well. They also have a Filipino specific portal. And one more. They also have a Filipino specific portal. So that's 3 links of places that regularly post up surveys and are specifically looking for Filipino respondents. So this is one last link that I will put in there. And basically what this last link is it is an aggregator, which means they keep track of a bunch of different places that offer work like this and keep it updated for you on an ongoing basis. So if you visit surveypolice.com regularly, you can look for Filipino specific research survey sites and then visit them. You will find sites like TGM Research, Mobrog, and YouGov, which I linked a few minutes ago. Those are 3 specific ones that I already know have Filipino survey work available. But if you look at Survey Police on an ongoing basis, they will take care of kind of finding new sites as they come up and become popular. And I think that is it for number 11. And we finished 12 also. And I will make a note to go back to 1, 2, and 3, but we are already a little bit past that. So let's wait to the end before we circle back. So number 13 is creating and selling your own crafts, like handicrafts. Basically, if you are good at whittling or doing arts and crafts, maybe pottery, maybe furniture, maybe you can have handmade jewelry that you can make. All of these items can be sold online. There's various platforms like Etsy or Carton or Cratejoy or DIY Joy, Sell You Seller. That's 5 platforms I can think of right off the top of my head, where if you are kind of a handy person and talented at making things, you can set up your own little online storefront and make money producing and selling those to people. If you'd like to hear more about creating and selling your own handicrafts, put a 13 in the chat. 13th idea is selling your illustrations or artwork online. If you are a good drawer, if you are a good painter, if you are a good graphic designer using Photoshop, no matter what medium you use, if you can create interesting and engaging artwork, there is a market for you to sell this to people online. It could be done on Fiverr. Like maybe you could go to Fiverr. If you're a good sketch artist, let's say, someone could maybe send you a selfie and you make a quick little sketch of them, maybe in a funny pose. I'm sure you guys have seen the sketch artists that sit on a boardwalk or a beach and make a caricature. That's the word I was looking for, caricatures of people. You could make a ton of money if you were a skilled sketch artist doing funny caricatures of people on Fiverr or elsewhere. You could do art specifically for businesses. Logos is another idea that I'll mention a bit later, but you could, basically, if you're a talented artist, there are 1,001 ways that you can directly translate that ability into making money. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about selling artwork online, put a 14 in the chat. Number 15 is publish your own ebook. This one is going to be a little harder than a lot of the other ideas because you pretty much have to have an expert level skill in something to be able to write an ebook about it. Now, an ebook doesn't have to be very long. A lot of ebooks are maybe only 20 to 30 pages long, and they really only focus on, the nitty gritty. Like it'll be like oh, how to make a particular series of edits in Photoshop. And you might have, a specific process or effect that you're trying to describe, or series, how to make any video pop for video editing newbie. And you could describe, maybe 5 or 6 of your favorite transitions, effects, things like that in video editing, and put together a literal ebook on how to do that type of work and then sell it online. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because you do have to have probably an expert level skill and something to be able to successfully pull that off. If you have the skill and are worried about writing the book, don't let that bother you, because you can basically, there are websites out there where you can work in a partnership with a talented writer. That, like, I do this work, for example. I have ghost written hundreds of ebooks for people over the years, where they will, educate me on the content that they want to convey. And then I will use the language and my graphic design abilities to actually do the layout, formatting, and write the words. Like, I have one of the most popular books on Amazon.com on credit repair, of all things. I didn't know anything about credit repair, but I did know a guy who was an expert in credit repair, but he wasn't an author. So him and I got in contact on Upwork, actually, and he hired me to write his book for him. And I did a series of interviews with him. He gave me all of the nitty gritty, low down, dirty info on how a person goes about repairing their credit. And then I just, turned it into a book for him. So if you have a skill that you are really an expert at, you can have a partnership with someone who is a talented writer who can handle that end of things for you. If you'd like to hear a little bit more about ebooks, put a 15 in the chat. Number 16 is write your stories on Wattpad. Wattpad is a platform that is basically blogging. It's very similar to blogging, but this is more about storytelling, really. So if you're a talented storyteller, or have lived an interesting life, or know a lot of crazy people, or any combination of the above, you probably can, kind of, it's very similar to blogging. I won't spend too much time on it, but it's more of a storytelling focus than a business focus or topic focus, which I consider blogging to be. If you'd like to hear a little bit more about creative writing, go ahead and put a 16 in the chat. Number 17 is start a podcast. This, again, everyone knows what a podcast is, and it is in the same boat as a YouTube channel or live streaming or blogging. It's one of those on you creating content, building an audience, and then monetizing it. Everyone knows about podcasts, so unless we have someone specifically interested, I will leave it there. If you'd like to hear more about podcasts, put a 17 in the chat. Number 18 is sell your own photos as stock images online. If you have a camera, even a phone camera is good enough these days. You don't need to have, a fancy Nikon or an expensive, lens with zoom and all of that stuff on there. If you have a decent smartphone, the camera on it is good enough to take nice photos these days. And if you have a talent for image composition and how to frame the image correctly, those sorts of things, you can basically take photos, and then there are lots of websites where you can list these. Like, I'm sure you guys have probably seen some of these before, things like Shutterstock or iStock Photo or SmugMug or Photo Workout or Handcraft Films, different sites like that. Basically, you take the pictures once, you list them on a site, and then your work is done. And then anytime anyone wants to license a copy of that for use on their own website or wherever it may be, you earn a little royalty fee off of that. And in the Philippines specifically, you all have such beautiful natural beaches and oceans and all sorts of stuff like that. So I imagine that you guys, probably all of you, live very close to some areas where you could get some beautiful photos, even if you don't fancy yourself a professional photographer. And spend a couple of hours at the beach, take a couple of shots, upload them to these sites, and sit back and see if anyone picks them up. And that's all it takes. And you can earn, even if you sell, let me see, looks like my notes here say that if you have a very high quality photos, you can earn a royalty fee of 20 to 50 pesos per photo. And if you have a photo library of 1,000 pictures that are regularly selling, that could pretty easily earn 5,000 pesos on a monthly basis. So if you'd like to learn more about that, go ahead and put an 18 in the chat. And I see you, Abram. I've added 17. We're not too far away from that, so I'll go back and talk a little bit more about podcasts. I'll read my whole notes here. There's a lot of reasons to start a podcast show. Apart from earning money, it's also a good way to build up personal credibility or authority about a particular topic or niche. That then puts you in a position to do other things like writing an ebook on it, starting a blog about it. Podcasts are an excellent way to get started building an audience, and then you use the podcast as a way to leapfrog into other monetization platforms, all of which can help earn you money over time. Some people also directly market services or products on podcasts. The way that you basically earn money with podcasts, there's typically three common ways that podcasts earn money. They earn them first through sponsorships, second through affiliate marketing, and third through direct advertisements. Sponsorships we have discussed briefly already, talking about a YouTube channel. Let's say you want to start a podcast about, I don't know, living on a boat or something like that. A boat company, if once you've built up an audience to the point where you have regular listeners, boat companies would come to you and say, hey, we've seen your channel on YouTube, we've heard your podcast, whatever it is. And we would like to sponsor one of your episodes. And they will basically pay you a fee. You do a little advertisement for them on that episode of the podcast. You've earned some money. Affiliate marketing is another idea we talked about earlier. That's another thing. So back to our boats example, you might say, I've got this really good brand of sail or rigging or deck wax or anything, any product that you would use on a boat. You can then basically sell products on your podcast, products that you personally use and support and think are good ideas for people to use, and earn a cut of any sales you generate through an affiliate marketing program. And then the third way is direct advertisements. These are basically a little bit different. It's similar to like the ads that YouTube will put into a video, where it will be a direct ad. That's a little bit more complex. But that is the third way that you learn about that. And then I've also got an article here I will link. Give me just 1 second. Close out some of these other links. This is a good guide on how to get a podcast started. There you go. Okay. Now on to idea 19. Design and sell t-shirts online. Basically, there are a wide variety of print-on-demand platforms. Amazon Merch is one of them. Printify is another one of them. And basically, if you have a cool or fun idea, you can turn it into a t-shirt. Like memes are excellent for t-shirts. I know we have a few meme masters in WAG. So if you are a meme master and put that on a t-shirt, I'm pretty sure you can't copyright memes. So, maybe tweak it a little bit, make it funny. If you have some basic graphic design skill, you can create cool designs. Maybe you are a talented artist and you can kind of scan your own design and turn it into a t-shirt thing, something like that. Um, there is I do have a link to a Filipino guy, at least I think he's a Filipino, although I'm not sure what that last name, but I will put this link in there also. This guy made $100,000 US in just 5 months by creating his own custom t-shirt printing business. If you'd like to hear a little bit more about that, put a 19 in the chat. Number 20 is designing logos. Logos are the visual mark of a brand. Pretty much all businesses have them. Most people can associate a logo with a company in less than a second. Like if I show you the Coca-Cola logo with the big double C, you instantly know what it is. If I show you a Golden Arches, you instantly know what it is. Logos are the same way, and companies that care about their branding do not hesitate to spend a ton of money on their logo development. Let me see here. It looks like we got one more guy who wanted. We'll go back to 19 in just a second. Fiverr is a very popular website for logos, and a lot of the people on there are commanding anywhere from maybe $50 to $250. Sorry, that's maybe 250 to 1,250 Philippine pesos for logo design. It's not very likely you're going to get, a major international business interested in you when you're just starting out, but those businesses spend tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars US on logo design. So if you have some graphic design ability, take a look at designing logos. Put a 20 in the chat if you would like to hear more. Number 21 is designing brochures and invitations. A lot of business owners outsource the creation of their promotional brochures and invitations, like things you would take to trade shows, stuff like that, to third-party designers. This again is going to require some basic graphic design and kind of layout experience to be able to, create an attractive product. How do you structure the information to present it well? Yada, yada, yada. You all know what business brochures are, stuff like that. If you would like to learn a little bit more about that, go ahead and put a 21 in the chat. Number 22 is creating PowerPoint or Prezi presentations. Pretty sure everyone knows what PowerPoint is. Believe it or not, a lot of both individual people and businesses don't really have individuals at the company who are skilled at creating interesting and attractive PowerPoint presentations. So if you happen to be familiar or are willing to learn the PowerPoint software very well, you can make quite a bit of money just by, taking other people's presentations and making them look really good inside the software. Businessmen who are trying to present their ideas to potential investors hire these. Businessmen who are speaking with lenders hire these sorts of people. These jobs are all over the place. Upwork has thousands and thousands of jobs like this. You can even develop your own presentation templates and then sell the template to people. The idea there is just like an ebook. You do the work once, and then you can sell that same template dozens, hundreds, or thousands of times, earning a royalty on it each time. If you would like to learn a little bit more about that, put a 22 in the chat. 23 is becoming a landing page specialist. This one I won't spend a lot of time on. You have to be probably like, college educated level in marketing and communications to be able to do this one. But basically, when you first arrive on a website, that's called the landing page because web traffic lands on it. And there is both an art and a science to both crafting the content, that's to say the text or other media on these pages, along with the UX or user experience. You have to understand how people's eyes track on a web page as they look at it. There's even software out there. This is another thing that you can do for money, is there are programs that work with your webcam, and all you do is you visit web pages, and your own webcam tracks where your eyes go on the page. And I do a lot of this work. For example, I'm a landing page specialist, and I will hire focus groups of people and then come up with several different designs of landing pages and use the webcam to eye software to track how do people's eyes scroll across the content on my different designs, because I want their eyes to be attracted to certain elements of it, elements that I think are going to encourage them to click through and buy the product or service. So this one is definitely a little bit more of a specialist thing. I gotcha, Pia Marie 22. Definitely a little bit more of a specialist thing, but individual landing pages, I charge about $500 US for doing a single landing page for people these days. So if you develop a reputation as someone who is very, very good at this work, you can earn a ton of money at it. So it is definitely a longer term goal that you might want to consider. If you'd like to hear more about that, pop a 23 in the chat. Number 24 is online coaching and consulting. We talked kind of a little bit about this earlier, but basically, if you have a skill, any sort of skill, it doesn't matter what it is, there's going to be someone out there who's interested in learning it. Oh, we talked about it in creating your own online course. That's right. Apart from making your own online course, you can also hire people for kind of one-on-one instruction for many different things. So, people understand what coaching is. If you'd like to hear a little bit more about how to make money with that, go ahead and pop a 24 in the chat. 25, get paid by answering questions. There are, everyone knows Reddit. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Quora. And you would think that because sites like that exist, how can you get paid to answer questions? Well, people do pay you to answer questions. And I've got one site. I'll pop this link in there. This is a site I know works in the Philippines, and you can make up to 1,000 pesos per answer. And basically, it's going to rely a little bit more on expertise. You have to be knowledgeable about a thing before you're going to be able to answer someone's question to the level where they're going to pay you for it. But what are different things that you could do? Like, I don't know, maybe you're very good with cars. How to find the best deal when buying a used car? I am not particularly good with cars, but I've always had a buddy who is, a mechanic or something. So if I'm going to buy a used car, I always take the buddy with me and, make sure that he is there when I'm buying the car, and he can kind of say, I don't think this one's a good deal, but this one is very good. So if you have a level of expertise in something and people are curious as to the expertise, you can actually earn money on sites like Just. 26, distribute your own original music online. This one obviously requires you to be a musician, but I know we have a couple of musicians in the guild. So if you have musical talent, and you don't even need to be able to play an instrument necessarily. There are different software packages out there that let you create the music without needing to play an instrument yourself. A lot of DJs do this these days. They aren't, creating any music themselves. They're using samples from other people's music and then just using software programs to put them together into songs. So whether or not you're a musician or someone who just educates themselves in how to use a digital music creation program, you can make pretty good money distributing your own original music online. If you would like to hear a little bit more about that, pop a 26 in there. 27 is related to a couple of the ones we just discussed, teaching music online. Lots of people out there are musical instrument players, and there are platforms that are specific to music education that exist online. So if you play the piano, if you play the violin, if you're a singer, I know we have a lot of singers and are qualified to actually give voice lessons. A lot of you are probably a little shy about doing that, but I know we have some semi-pro slash possibly pro quality level singers around. So if you are at that level, there are several platforms where you can specifically give lessons to people online and get paid for it. I've got you on number 26. We will come back to that at the end. Um, 28, helping students through online tutoring. I also know we have a lot of college students out there, and I know we have a lot of smart people in here. So if you are very talented with mathematics or languages or any subject, physics, it doesn't matter. If you get good marks in school on a certain subject, you can probably tutor those who are less advanced than you. So if you are a undergraduate degree level college student, you probably should have no problem tutoring high school students. I'm not sure if the Philippines have national level exams or how that works. I know in America, we have things called the SAT and the ACT, and these are basically college preparatory exams. And depending on where you live in the country, you have to or you want to score well on these and or because it's something that your college admissions department looks at when evaluating whether or not to let you into college. Alternatively, if students are having trouble in certain areas, you can tutor them online and get paid for it. If you would like to hear a little bit more about that, pop in the 28. And thank you for the clarification that you do have nationalized tests like that also there. Excellent. 29. I think I've already talked about this through other stuff, but become video editor. So we've already talked about video editing a couple times. So we will skip that. 30. Become an online researcher. Basically, business owners, executives, or even people like book authors will hire independent researchers to help them with their work. For example, I am a writer. If I wanted to write a book about, I don't know, like the Hunt for Red October, like some sort of military submarine adventure story or something. I've never been on a military submarine. I don't know what any of the instrumentation on it is called. I don't know what procedures are like. So how can I write a book on that without knowing about it? Well, I'm sure the guy who wrote the Hunt for Red October, I don't think he was a submarine soldier at any point in his life. I think he was just an author, like Tom Clancy. I'm sure everyone's heard of him, or Stephen King, or something like that. Authors write all sorts of work about stuff that they don't have personal experience in, and they hire people to do online research work for them and basically submit reports. And this is something that you can get paid for. If you'd like to hear a little bit more about how to become an online researcher, pop a 30 in the chat. 31 is transcribing video and audio work. There are apps out there that do this, but none of them are 100%, and all of them make errors. I'm sure we've all seen YouTube's auto captioning, and it does make mistakes, particularly if you're using proper nouns like people's names or the names of places or things like that. AI transcription is just not 100% yet. And because of that, there is still a market out there through manual transcription of video and audio work. You can earn anywhere from kind of 200 to 500 pesos per hour, according to my research, if you are working with businesses and people directly in the Philippines. And if you have a skill set that is good enough to attract Western employers, you can earn up to 2,500 pesos per hour for top end transcription work. If you'd like to hear a little bit more about that, pop a 31 in the chat. And Our next idea is turning interviews, video interviews, and audio podcasts into articles. Now, this is not transcription. We just talked about that. What this is like if I do a podcast on any subject, basically, um, when I talked about podcast, I talked about how you can branch off from podcasts into other monetizable earnings platforms. And typically, like a blog where you do affiliate marketing on the blog is one of the first ways that people who do video or audio content look to do is I might have a pot like the Joe Rogan Experience. I'm sure everyone has watched one episode of that. Basically, you work with multimedia content creators, and rather than transcribing the exact words that everyone says, you make a new article about it that talks about the same subject that they discussed in that episode of his podcast. So it's not a word for word transcription, but rather it's creating all new written content around the exact same subject matter as a multimedia presentation. And a lot of people who are specialists in multimedia content, YouTube video creators, podcast hosts, will hire people because they're not writers, that they do their videos, they do their podcast. So they will hire a writer to go ahead and create written articles about the subjects of their multimedia content. If you'd like to hear a little bit more about that, pop a 32 in there. And I have number 31 to circle back to. Number 33, Mechanical Turk, which we talked about earlier. So whoops, skip that one. Number 34, software testing. Basically, when new software is released, I'm sure you guys have heard the term beta testing before. Well, most software testers are actually paid money. Like video games, you typically beta test for free, and that's because people are video game enthusiasts. So they want to be able to try a new game for free before anyone else, and are therefore willing to tell the company what they think about it, file bug reports, provide feedback to the game developers. They're willing to do that for free in exchange just for getting access to the game. But if you are doing business software or something like that, that's no fun for anyone. And so these companies have to actually pay people to test their software. Everyone knows what software is. Everyone understands why testing a game someone would do for free. But if you're testing business software, it would put everyone to sleep unless you were getting paid to do that. I don't think we need to say much more there. If you'd like to learn more about software testing, pop a 34 in the chat. Number 35 is becoming a virtual assistant or an online assistant. Everyone knows what like an executive assistant or a secretary type person is, but what you may not know is that a lot of people need a virtual assistant. And because you live in the Philippines, where the cost of living is so low compared to the rest of the world, you can earn a ton of money becoming some business owner's online assistant, because you can manage their calendar for them, you can answer emails for them, you can schedule all sorts of things for them online, and you can do it cheaper, way cheaper than what they would pay to hire someone locally to do this for them. I did find a interview about a Filipina named Kayla Sloan, and this is her story of how she makes, wait for it, 450,000 pesos a month as a virtual assistant from the Philippines. So there is a link to her story. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about that, pop a 35 in the chat. Number 36, we briefly mentioned earlier, but language translation. The job of language translation is probably almost as old as language itself. As long as there are thousands of languages in the world, there will always be a need for translators. AI translation is not up to par, not when you are a business not when you are trying to sell something, not when you are trying to look professional. Um, Upwork is a very good platform for this, as is Fiverr. There's not a ton of work out there for Tagalog or Waray, or I don't even know how many hundreds of dialects you guys have. So you will have to check on all of the dialects that you may or may not know on your own. But there is some work out there, and it is something that all of you are eminently qualified for. You're native speakers, much like I'm a native speaker of English, and Filipino businesses may be willing to hire a person like me uh, to give American style English for something. There are plenty of businesses out there who do use Tagalog, Waray, or other Filipino dialects and are looking for translation. And almost all of you are at least bilingual because you also got the English too. So the more languages or dialects you speak, the more opportunity there is for that. And you can make a pretty good job on language translation. If you'd like to hear more about that, put a 36 in the chat, and I got 35 down to circle back to later. Number 37 is another kind of expert level thing. Pardon me. I won't spend too much time on it, but it is basically building a e-commerce website. This is like, Shopify, which I think probably most people are familiar with. If it's similar to one of the first couple ideas I said, which was, drop shipping, but here you're building the whole website platform around it. So it does require you to have some pretty well developed technical skills as well as some marketing knowledge. This is another one of those long term goals. But I do have some data here that shows that in the Philippines specifically, around April through June of last year, e-commerce almost tripled in popularity in the Philippines. And I know that e-commerce is not super popular in the Philippines just yet. So if you do have those skills, you can become an early adopter of it and kind of get in and establish yourself as a subject matter expert before this really takes off. And like we've talked about in several of our other ideas, once you become an authoritative source on something, that's when you're really in a position to make the big bucks with it. To learn more about e-commerce websites, pop a 37 in the chat. 38. We've already talked about this before. This is basically selling products online. I don't know why I have this in there again. Sorry about that. We will skip that one. 39. This is one of the ideas that costs a good amount of money. I would say you probably would need to either have or be able to find investors capable of providing 1 to 2 million pesos as a floor to start. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but basically, if you are a coder, and I mean an actual software as a service company, and there are, I'm not even going to get into that unless someone is specifically interested in it and also has the capital to do that. If that does suit you, pop a 39 in there and we can come back to it. And I got you on 37 to circle back to. Okay, 40. This is, again, this similar to the last one. This is offer software development services. This would already require you to have your own ability to program in a modern programming language. Rather than starting your own company that sells software as a service, this is where you would basically be a freelance developer for someone. And the reason I put this in here, and I'll put this link also, this is a story from someone who taught themselves how to go from a complete newbie to a full-time software engineer in just 9 months while continuing to work their own full-time job. So if you are very computer savvy, learning to code is not particularly difficult. I kind of suck as a coder, I'm not going to lie, but even I can do some basic HTML. And I'm sure that if I sat down and really taught myself, I could be up to speed within 6 months to a year also. Um, High-end web developers make a lot of money. You're probably going to earn on an annual basis something like, geez, I got to break out the calculator for this one. I would say a newbie web developer probably makes about $50,000 US annually, which would be 2.5 million Filipino pesos. And an experienced web developer with maybe 5 years plus experience makes about $150,000 US, which would be about 7.5 million pesos annually. So big money, but that does require, years of experience and time. If you would like to learn a little bit more about software development, put a 40 in the chat. Number 41 is start a white label business. White labeling is a process where you basically sell unbranded products or services to others. And what I mean by this is like you're basically selling someone else's products, but you put your own brand on it and act like it is your own. One example of this, and this is something that I've done personally myself, I do SEO services. That stands for search engine optimization. That is basically the process by which you help companies to rank higher when people in their target area use search engines to try to locate them. So, for example, like, oh, if I'm a restaurant and I live in the Houston area. So if I'm starting up a new restaurant in the Houston area, I would hire an SEO specialist to make sure that when someone Googles Houston restaurant near me, that my new restaurant comes up, hopefully on the first page, or if not on the first page, as close to the first page as you can get. That's called SEO services. Now, what you can do as a white labeler is, and this is something that actually I could work with any of you on because I do those services. So if you can find me clients and white labeling is where you would basically sell my product or service to businesses that you know, but people don't know that it's me doing it. You would say, this is, my Filipino SEO service. And it's legal to do. It sounds like it's illegal or unethical, but it's not. There's a whole process around it. It's called white labeling. Um, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about that, pop a 41 in the chat. Number 42 is reselling web hosting services. Basically, every website out there has to have a host. These are companies like GoDaddy.com, which I'm sure you've probably heard of, stuff like that. And we've talked a little bit about affiliate marketing. You can basically package and resell people's web hosting services and make money at it. And one neat thing about this as a business model is that typically people don't tend to switch web hosts unless they have a problem. So if you sell web hosting services to a business, every year that they renew the service, you're going to get paid again for that year, basically in perpetuity. You all know what web businesses are. I'm sure you all understand web hosting as well. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about how to do web rehosting, put a 42 in the chat, and I have 41 down to circle back to. Thank you. Number 43, sell advertising space. It basically relies on you already having an online property of some sort. And what I mean by that is a blog or a podcast or a YouTube channel or a live stream channel. You need to have the audience in place. Once you have the audience, you can sell the advertising space to people and make money with it. We've kind of talked about this in the past. I'm not going to rehash it unless someone puts a 43 in chat and wants to hear more specific information. Number 44, the narration of audiobooks and voiceover work. A lot of you have teased to me a little bit that I have a radio announcer voice. And I've actually done quite a bit of voiceover and audiobook work in the past. And you don't have to sound like a radio announcer. Basically, if you can speak clearly, concisely, sometimes people want someone with a native accent. If you were going to do a course in Tagalog, you wouldn't want to hire me. I mean, you guys have heard me speak Tagalog. You wouldn't want to hire me, even though I'm a very good voiceover artist. You'd want to hire a native Filipino to do that type of work. So, depending on what the project is and the audience for it, there may be work out there for you in narration and voiceover. And ACX is probably the gold standard of that. Anyone can go on. It's short for the Audiobook Creation Exchange. Anyone can go on there, create your own profile, create a couple snippets, examples of you doing recordings, and get started. And if you'd like to learn a little bit more about that, pop a 44 in the chat. Number 45 is become an Instagram influencer. I'm sure you all know what Instagram is, and you probably know what influencers are too, like Kim Kardashian or whoever. I think she gets paid literally like $2 million or something just to post a link to someone's website on her Instagram account. It's crazy. And you're not going to make Kim Kardashian level money, clearly. But if you are able to build up an Instagram account, basically about 100,000 followers is the point at which you can start kind of charging money for it. And according to my research on Filipino influencers, if you have 100,000 followers in the Philippines, you should be able to ask about 2,500 pesos per post on your Instagram account. And this is another fun story I got a good link of. Maybe some of you have heard of this woman, Catherine Bernardo. I think she is popular in the Philippines, and I will put a link to her Instagram account in there. And she makes quite a bit of money, according to my research, and is a Filipino Instagram influencer. Yeah, so you could become the next Catherine Bernardo. She's an actress. Got you. Very cool. Yeah, I didn't know about her, but I did find out when I was Googling Filipino Instagram influencers. So I learned my new thing for the day. And yeah, she makes quite a bit of money doing that, according to my research. So if you'd like to hear a little bit more of that, pop a 45 in the chat. And next idea is 46. Also, guys, I can see that we're already coming up on an hour and a half. This is getting long. I think I'm going to cut it at 50, and I will probably do a follow-up presentation next week where I go through the second 50. I think I've spent more time on these than I initially intended to. I hope you guys are finding it interesting. So as I don't want to keep you all afternoon, we will call it after just a few more, and we will have a follow-up presentation in the future. So number 46 is writing articles for companies. We talked a little bit about white labeling SEO services earlier. SEO is how you get websites to rank highly on Google and other search engines for specific search terms. One of, in fact, probably the most important thing that you're actually doing when you're executing SEO services for someone is writing regular content. And there's like a whole process to it where, like, for example, the search term that we used, Houston restaurant near me. If I want to help a given website rank highly for that search term, I have to have a bunch of content on their website. For example, a lot of blog posts that use the specific search terms that I want that website to rank highly for. So if you are, this doesn't really require you to be a talented writer, because no one really reads business blogs. If you are, let's say, a pest control company, like the Orkin Man, like you spray for bugs, no one is reading the Orkin Man's blog, your local Orkin Man. So why do all of these local websites have blogs if no one reads them? The answer is SEO. And so all of you have enough English ability where you could write blog posts that really aren't even intended for people to read, believe it or not. They're intended for the search engines to index them and read them. And when Google sees, okay, such and such website has 500 articles on Houston pest control on it, Google, that's one of the things that Google looks at when it decides, well, if this website has 500 articles about Houston pest control, I'm going to rank it at the top of the list when someone Googles Houston pest control. So blog article writing is how I got into SEO. I didn't know what SEO was. I got into all of my online marketing work as a writer initially. And I was like, geez, there's all of these blog writing posts. Why are people paying me to write these blog posts? And they don't even care if anyone reads them. Why is this? So that led me to educate myself about SEO. And then I thought, well, I'm already writing the content for them. I'm tech savvy. I understand computers. Maybe I can teach myself SEO also. And then I learned SEO. Now I was offering two services. Then I learned about, well, okay, I'm doing SEO. I'm doing the content creation. Isn't that hard to really build websites for people? I taught myself how to build websites. Then I was doing that. Now that you have a website, you have to have a social media widget on there so that everyone can connect to the business's Facebook page. So, okay, how do businesses use social media? Taught myself about that. Now I'm doing social media marketing. So that's an example of how you can kind of start with one of these skills and then progress on to other things until you've acquired a whole suite of skills in a particular area. But I digress. Back to writing articles for company. Like I said, writing articles, it doesn't even matter if anyone ever reads them. All that matters is that it's grammatically correct and that you kind of use keywords in a particular way. You can teach yourself how to write SEO blog posts in a day. It's super easy. I would be willing to mentor anyone who really wants to do this personally. Super easy. And cheap blog posts, you can be paid anywhere from about 250 to 500 Philippine pesos. I am so good at these days that I can write a full blog post in, I kid you not, probably 3 or 4 minutes and completely SEO optimize it while I'm writing it and be done. So I can earn, $10 in 3 minutes. That's actually pretty good, even for the US, because I can do 15 of those articles in an hour, let's say. That's $150 an hour. So if you are good at that and develop speed over time, it can be quite lucrative. And I still do this today. If you'd like to learn a little bit more, hear a little bit more about that, pop 46 in the chat. 47, offer content marketing services. This is basically that whole process I described where you're looking at a company's website and you're looking at SEO for them and you're looking at their social media presence and you're looking if they have multimedia things like a podcast or a blog, all of that together. Putting all of that together and coming up with a comprehensive strategy is in itself an entirely new skill. This one is another one of these more expert level things because you have to understand all of the constituent components on a pretty fundamental basis before you're going to be qualified to create kind of a unified strategy. But if you followed the same progression I did, content marketing strategy is still something that I do a lot of today. And it's very high-end work, very high wages for it. And it's something you probably learn within a couple of years. So it's on the same par teaching yourself to code. If you'd like to hear a little bit more about unified content marketing strategies, pop a 47 in the chat. 48, become an online journalist. When people hear the word journalist, they typically think of like a news reporter. But I don't know if it's the same way in the Philippines, but in America, the news sucks these days. All of our journalists are pretty bad, which is why old media companies are failing. Like nobody subscribes to the newspaper anymore. Only old people watch Fox News or CNN, and it's because they suck. I'm sorry, but they do. And you can become an online journalist and kind of freelance your way through things just by not sucking and doing what a journalist is supposed to, but they typically do not do, at least in the West. I am unfamiliar with the state of Filipino journalism and whether or not y'all are still good on it over there or not. But in the West, at least, yeah, you can you can make quite a bit of money. Joe Rogan is again kind of a good example about that. Maybe Russell Brand is actually a good example. The famous actor, he's got an up and coming YouTube channel, and he does a better job talking about the news than any of the ABC, NBC. These are major American network television networks: ABC, CBS, NBC, stuff like that. Russell Brand, the actor, the drug using stoner actor guy, who is hilarious, by the way, does a better job as a journalist than any major American journalist I can think of. And there is probably room for you to do the same thing in the Philippines. And by covering news stories and critical information in a way that is better than your television networks or newspapers do, that is a great way. You can both sell the content directly to them, and that's also a great way to build a reputation and build an audience. And much like all the other things that we talked about, where once you have the audience, you can then monetize it, this is another way to break into that type of work. And if I got you on number 46, and if you'd like to hear a little bit more about online journalism, pop a 48 in the channel. And whoops, misclicked. Number 49 is become a freelance copywriter. This is kind of tied into company websites and company blogs and some of that other stuff, but it's with a more specific focus. A copywriter is someone who writes what is called ad copy. The top copywriters in the world earn millions of dollars a year. These are the people who write, just do it. Like the guy who invented Just Do It for Nike, who I'm sure you guys have heard of, made $5 or $10 million, maybe more, maybe $50 million. I don't even know. But any of these, major international branding campaigns, the guys who write the ad copy for it make millions. I am a very high-end copywriter. I'm definitely in the top 10th of the top 1% of copywriters in the world. This is how I broke into freelancing. Originally was as a writer, and I've focused on copywriting the most over the years. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but the country of Ireland, the national government of Ireland, hired me personally at one point to work on their international rebranding campaign. They wanted to become the cloud computing center of the EU and attract young, upscale, college-educated professional people from all across the EU and encourage them to relocate to Ireland, of all places. So one of the coolest jobs I've ever had. And basically, the difference between this and other types of writing is that you also have to understand human psychology. And this is a skill that would require practice and work over time. And, how do you sell something to someone? Like, what are the words that you use that inspires someone to click on that website, to go to the store and put something in their shopping cart? However the mechanism is, whatever the target demographic is, if you understand how to, and if you are a good salesperson and you combine being a good salesperson with good command over language, those two skills together are what you need to be a good copywriter. And you can make a ton of money doing that. And you can make good money even just starting out. And if you would like to hear a little bit more about that, pop 49. Okay, we already got a 49. While we're here, I'll talk a little bit more about that. So my full notes on this are: on this list, becoming a freelance copywriter is one of the ways you can earn millions in a month. If you're not familiar with copywriting, it's still a type of writing, but with the intent and purpose of advertising or selling a particular product or service. copywriters, pardon me, copy hackers ran a copywriter salary survey, and I've got a link to that from 2017, and found out that more than half of the professional copywriters they surveyed are earning more than 2 million pesos a year. And that is their lowest bracket. Wow. Yeah. I've got an image there. Let me see if I can. Well, it doesn't want to copy. Okay, sorry. Moving on. Some copywriters charge by the hour, some copywriters charge by the project. And those who earn more usually charge a relatively small upfront fee and then a percentage of the sales generated by the project. And that is the model I use. So if someone wants to hire me, for example, for me, if someone wanted to pay a flat fee for copywriting, I would probably charge $500 to $1,000 for a single page of work if they wanted to pay me flat fee. Not a lot of people want to pay me flat fees because they say, well, there's no way you could possibly be worth that. My counter is then, well, but look at my list of 10,000 satisfied customers. I have almost perfect rating. So clearly, people are happy with it. And that gets into negotiation a little bit. But not a lot of people want to pay the flat fee like that. Same would go for hourly, because I would typically charge maybe $100 or $200 an hour for copywriting work. People don't want to pay that. They might pay me $100 or $200 as a flat fee and 1% of all the sales made from the page I write. Because then if they're paying me, they're making a lot of money. If I help them sell 1,000, whatever their product is, then they're going to have a ton of money that I've directly helped them earn, and they will pay me a percentage of that. And if you really want to make the big money, that is how you get those types of jobs. First, you do a lot of smaller jobs, typically for a flat fee, earning less money, and demonstrate good results. Then once you've built yourself up as an expert copywriter, that's when bigger companies begin approaching you, and you can do some of these percentage-based earnings deals with them. And let me see, I've got one link here from a very well-known copywriter, and I will paste the link to that in the chat. And Upwork is an excellent place to get started as a copywriter, which we talked about earlier. And then the final idea for tonight, we will circle back to all the ones that you guys have pumped numbers into chat for, but the final one for tonight is earn money by proofreading content. And if you don't feel comfortable writing content from scratch, either as a copywriter or a blogger or any of the other stuff that we've talked about, you can still earn money just by proofreading other people's content. If you are a meticulous, detail-oriented person who has a strong command over grammar, you can be an editor for someone. And a lot of people who feel that they have strong language skills but are worried about how creative they are, worried about coming up with stuff from scratch, but that you speak a language or read and write a language very well, you can make probably almost as much money editing and proofreading as you can writing the stuff in the first place. We all understand what proofreading is. I don't need to get into it too much. If you'd like to hear a little bit more about proofreading. Oh, actually, I have a Filipino-specific story. There is a girl named Caitlin Pyle who is in the Philippines, and she made 2 million pesos in 1 year from being a copywriter and proofreader. So here is a link to her story. And with that, we will cut it. That is idea number 50. So believe it or not, I have 50 more ideas. Yikes. I put a lot of time into this. I hope you guys found it useful. We're going to go ahead and briefly circle back to the ones that I have. If I missed it, please go ahead and let me know in the chat. Let me scroll back up. And we will do a follow-up event in a week or two where I will go through items 51 through 100. So I had number one, which was drop shipping. So let me close out some of these links here. Okay. Full info on drop shipping. With drop shipping, you're selling products even if you don't keep them in stock. You don't need to keep a stock of products on hand to sell them via drop shipping. Basically, you sell products that are stored somewhere else. And whenever someone buys something from you, the products are delivered to them straight from the warehouse where they are sold. So I've got a link here to an article from Sprocket. And this is a guy who made almost $1 million in 3 months by drop shipping products from the US and the EU all over the world. Basically, the beauty of drop shipping is a business that sells any sort of product you can imagine anywhere in the world without having to maintain any sort of inventory, any sort of stock, any sort of warehouse, nothing like that. Even if you're from the Philippines, you can sell products and drop ship them to the USA or to the EU or to Japan or anywhere in the world because someone else is fulfilling the order when you run a drop shipping business. So there can be some capital investment involved in this because before a company might be willing to work with you, you might have to commit to buying a certain number of their products because they can't just let everyone reserve unlimited amounts of their product because then their storage and warehousing and production costs would be insane. Because what if 2 million people sign up to drop ship their products, but then only 200 of them ever sell anything? Then they're screwed. So it's a little bit different, and there are a ton of different models. And I did also get another article specifically on how to start a drop shipping business from the Philippines. And I will pop that into chat. There you go. And our next one, we had someone interested in number 2. Number 2 was affiliate marketing. Okay, excuse me just one second. My voice, I'm talking 2 hours here. Okay, number 2 was affiliate marketing, earning commissions through affiliate marketing. Affiliate marketing is as old as the concept of marketing and sales. The very essence of affiliate marketing is that you earn a commission for marketing someone else's product or service and basically making the sale for them. So I've got a link to the story of Charles Nguyen, who I think he's Vietnamese, not a Filipino, but this is one of the most successful affiliate marketers in the world, multi-millionaire. And I guess maybe he is a Filipino. Yeah, my notes here say that in 2017, he became pretty well known in the Philippine business community because he made more than 50 million a year from his affiliate marketing efforts. So that is a good place to start, would be by looking him up and seeing how he did it. And okay, so affiliate marketing is usually linked to blogging, but there are other methods to do it as well that don't require writing a blog or building a website. Some people use paid advertising services on either social media or on search engines. Other people utilize social media to do their affiliate marketing. Some people use YouTube videos or podcasts to do affiliate marketing. We talked about both of those in other numbers tonight as well. There are a ton of websites and projects and programs that teach you how to succeed in affiliate marketing. And I saw one in particular that looked pretty good after I went through it. So this is a guide from 2022 by a well-known and successful affiliate marketer. That should be a good place to get started. So that is number two. Number three, someone was interested in live selling on Facebook. Um, okay, I'm assuming you already know what Facebook is and you know what Facebook Marketplace is. I'm sure that you've seen that there's been a massive increase in traffic and users on the Facebook Marketplace. That's because there is virtually no cost in selling products or services on the Facebook Marketplace, other than the time it takes to create your product listings. So there's a feature called the Live feature on the Facebook Marketplace that allows users to directly sell products to their friends. So like if you want to start live selling on Facebook, the most common items being sold right now are clothes, general household items, toys, and gadgets. So if you I don't know if you guys know what a garage sale is in the Philippines. That's what we call it in the US. Basically, if you find that you have too much clutter and extra stuff in your house that you're not really using anymore, you'll put signs up in your neighborhood and say, hey, garage sale at such and such address this weekend. Come on by. And you try to, sell your extra clutter that you're not really using anymore to neighbors or people driving through the area who might come by and take a look at your stuff. Well, now that Facebook exists, you don't have to have a garage sale anymore. You can just do it through the live selling feature on the Facebook Marketplace. So I do have one article I found that is a good guide on getting started with Facebook selling, which I will link in the chat now. There we go. And the next one was all the way to number 19. And there's only a few more that I'm going through in detail, and then we're done for the evening. Thankfully for my voice. Oof. So number 19. This was designing and selling custom t-shirts online. Okay, so there are various print-on-demand platforms out there. Amazon Merches is one of them, and Printify is another one. And basically, these are sites where you can do a mock-up of what a custom t-shirt design, like you provide the graphics, and they will, remember how another thing we talked about was white labeling, where you're selling someone else's product or service. Basically, t-shirt manufacturers that can make the actual clothes will set up a platform like Printify, where their job is making the clothes. They don't do cool graphic designs. So they want people like you to do the cool graphic designs, and they'll just sell you the cotton shirts with your design printed on them. So they could be a textile manufacturer making the clothes. They could be a printer who prints the ink or silk screen or dye sublimation or whatever printing method they might use to put it on the clothes. They might be a combo provider that does both of those things, but they need the designs to come from somewhere, to come from you. So if you're a creative person and you have some basic graphic design experience, you can kind of create your own shirt designs without having to worry about any of the difficulties of actually buying 5,000 t-shirts and then having them sit in your house while you try to sell them all. You can sell them on an on-demand basis on a platform like Printify only as sales actually occur. And I've got a article here about Benny Sue on The Hustle. I might have linked this one earlier. I forget if I linked it earlier. Apologies if this is a duplicate. But this guy made $100,000 US, or about 50 million or 500,000. I need the old calculator again, although I should be able to do that. 5 million pesos in just a few months with selling his own custom designs on another platform called Teespring. So basically, the way these platforms work is you just upload your designs on a print-on-demand platform, and the platform takes care of the managing the inventory. They never run out of t-shirts. They take care of the shipping. You never have to touch a product. It just goes straight from them, drop shipping, if you remember that, to the person who bought your design. Customer service. If someone didn't get their shirt, they're not calling you on the phone. You don't have to track these packages down with the tracking codes. All of that is handled by the platform. So all you have to do is come up with the cool design and put it on one of these platforms and sit back and collect the money. I have one other guide from a site called Big Commerce, who created a pretty good guide on how to start up your own profitable t-shirt business, which I will link now. Here we go. And that was it for t-shirts. The next one was 22. Looks like we got about 5 more to revisit, and then we're done for the night. 22 was, oh yes, PowerPoint presentations. Okay, so you earn money from creating PowerPoint or Prezi presentations, or there are a few other software platforms out there that do similar things. Excuse me. A lot of people are willing to pay a lot of money just to make their presentations look professional, slick, sexy, whatever kind of look they're going for, depending on who they're presenting it to. Businessmen may want to present things to potential investors. If someone, if I'm on the Shark Tank, for example, I think you guys probably are aware of that show. If I come in there and I have a really cool looking presentation and I take it to the Shark Tank people, they're going to be more interested in investing in my company than if I come on there and I look like a total fool. Even going to get a loan from a bank or a lender of some sort, forget about investors. If you want to go and take out a loan from a bank or a small business association, I'm not sure how the Philippines handles business investment, if that comes exclusively from private banks or whatever, but lenders are going to want to see a well put together presentation, because that's going to instill confidence in them that you know what you're talking about and that your idea is more likely to succeed. So if you come in there with a well put together presentation, it's going to be easier for you to convince investors to invest in your company. It's going to be easier to convince lenders to loan your company money. So that's why business people of every single business type that exists need people who are skilled at creating good looking presentations, and why becoming a PowerPoint presentation specialist can make you a lot of money. There are tons of these jobs on places like Upwork, which we talked about way back at the beginning. We also talked very, very briefly when I went over this the first time about developing your own presentation templates. Here is a link to a website called Template Monster, where you can take a look at other people's PowerPoint presentation templates and see what they look like. Those people sell those for money. And like I said, it's passive income. They did the work once. They designed their template, they uploaded it to the site. Now they sell dozens, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of copies of it, earning money every copy they sell. If you want to do this type of work for clients, you're going to have to develop a portfolio. A lot of them are going to want to see other presentations that you've done in the past so they can get a sense for your level of proficiency, what type of work you're able to do. So much like how like a photographer might have a portfolio of work showing different photos that they've taken. Myself as a writer, I have a portfolio of work. It's different projects I've done for my landing pages. That's that big money stuff we talked about earlier. I have all sorts of landing pages that I've done. I have that work I did for the country of Ireland is right up at the front of my landing page portfolio. And it's the same way for PowerPoint. So they're going to want to see actual projects that you've done, and they can assess whether or not they like your approach to design by taking a look at your portfolio. This is something that you can make a full-time living on with just this one skill, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that before. I do have one additional article. from a good website called The Creative Market on how to make a living designing PowerPoint presentations. And I will put that link in there now. And that's it for 22. We got 26. Close a few of these links I pulled up again. Okay. 26 was original online music. Okay, if you're a musician, you can certainly sell your original music online. You earn royalties when people stream your music on places like Spotify, Google Play, Apple Music, but you need to have your music on a digital distribution network in order to send your music to these streaming platforms. I've got one digital distribution network here that I know is very good called Lander, which I will link now. And it basically can get your music published to all the major platforms in the world in about 2 days. If you want to learn a little bit more about how these distribution channels work and why they're important, this is a list of music distribution platforms and online services that you can take a look at, as well as a basic guide on how to sell music online. And this is one more article from a person who is pretty successful at selling music online on how to get started. So I've got these 3 links for you to begin research. I don't really do a ton of work in this myself, so my expertise in it is kind of limited. Apologies. Okay, next one is number 31. That's transcription. Okay. Even if there are a lot of apps and software out there that converts audio to text or vice versa using artificial intelligence, like we talked about earlier, it still isn't even close to 100%. Nothing beats the good old-fashioned way of transcription, which is manual work by people. I've got some pay scale data here on transcriber rates for the Philippines specifically for you to take a look at. And again, transcription is turning audio to text or turning, well, no, text to audio wouldn't be transcription. Transcription is audio to text only. And there's plenty of work for it in the Philippines, enough so that it has its own web page on that pay scale thing I just linked for you. And this is another thing that is popular on Upwork and Fiverr and other websites. And it is something that if you earn a reputation at and do good work at on a few projects, you will be able to attract international clients. So like you could find, American people who want, don't care that you're in the Philippines, and they just care that you're a transcriber. And this type of work is about whether or not you do it well. So nobody cares who the person doing it is or where they're from. They care about, are they able to accurately transcribe my audio with 100% accuracy on a deadline, on a time frame, at a reasonable rate. If you can do those things, you can get customers in the EU or USA who will pay, looks like about 2,500 pesos on an hourly basis is about the top you can really expect to earn doing this. It's not as much as some of the other things out there, but the barrier to entry is also a lot lower because you don't need to have any special software, any special skills, any special training. You just need to have, good command of a language, and that's all it requires. Now, I don't want to understate it. It might seem easy. Like, how hard is it to listen to a sound file and transcribe every word you hear? There's a little bit more to it than that. So, for example, some transcription source files, the quality may not be very good. Maybe it was recorded in a noisy place or on a device with a crappy microphone. So, depending on the quality of the source material you're working with, it could sometimes take you a few hours of work to transcribe 1 hour of audio. So just something to keep in mind. And I do have a guide on how to get started as a transcriptionist that I will post in the chat. Here you go for that one. And that was 31. Okay, we got 35. This was being, number 35 was being a virtual assistant. Okay, being a virtual assistant is like being a personal assistant of someone, but you can only, obviously, because you're not there in person with them, only do online tasks. So this could be organizing files for them, managing their website, managing their calendar, answering their email, pretty much anything. Like, think, what would someone want a secretary to do? Or a personal assistant. Like there are different levels. Secretaries are kind of like answering the phone, entry level type stuff. But think about like the CEO or the president of a company. The person who is their right hand man or woman is typically going to have more skills than a secretary. So this was the Kayla Sloan article. I'll repost the link because it's been a while. But she is a Filipina who makes 450,000 pesos a month as someone's virtual assistant. So we will repost that. And there are also different types of virtual assistants. There's a general virtual assistant who is kind of a jack of all trades. They do a wide variety of stuff. There are social media virtual assistants who focus exclusively on social media. There are administrative virtual assistants, many types. And you don't really need a lot of experience to get started in this, although you're not really going to command the kind of wages that Miss Sloan does unless you are exceptionally talented. And here is a guide that discusses about the skills you need to develop and how to get started working as a virtual assistant. Okay, that was number 35, 37. E-commerce website. Okay, whoever was interested in the e-commerce website, this was number 37. Go ahead and shoot me a DM. This is pretty involved. This is something that I would already expect you to have years of experience in marketing or sales combined with some technical skills before I would recommend getting into it. It's one of those things that I would expect to have you probably should have like a college degree or equivalent experience already working in it. So whoever was interested in number 37, again, that was build an e-commerce website, shoot me a DM and we can talk about it one-on-one if you really feel that you're up to that level. If I misclicked that, or I don't know why I would have done that, but I will put the link that I did have on that. I do have a link, how to start up and build your own e-commerce website. So I will post that in there, and feel free to contact me one-on-one for some personal instruction on that, because I was unaware that we had anyone attending who was kind of at that level of education. But if that's the case, maybe we'll end up working together, hey? Because I do that sort of stuff frequently. Okay, two more. 41. White labeling business. Okay. This is like the custom t-shirt thing is a perfect example of white labeling. Like, you're selling t-shirts, but you don't have to produce the t-shirts. You don't have to store the t-shirts. You don't have to ship the t-shirts. You don't have to do customer service on the t-shirts. You're just like doing the design, and the other person is making and shipping and everything else related to the product. So when you're using like Printify to do custom t-shirts, like we talked about a few minutes ago, that is a white labeling business. You're selling someone else's white labeled t-shirt product with your design, and that's what it is. So again, but your customer, like if I were to visit Printify and visit your account on Printify and buy a t-shirt design from you, I'm not going to know the name of the company who is making the t-shirt. That's completely unknown to me as the end customer. So that's what the white labeling is where I'm buying something and I don't even know who the ultimate manufacturer or source of the product is. I came to it through someone else's brand, your brand, as a t-shirt designer. So yeah, white labeling is a type of business where you sell unbranded products or services to others. You put it under your own brand and act as if it is your own product. This is a good way to start a business selling anything, because anything that you can think of, any product or service that it's possible to buy, there is someone selling a white labeled version of it out there, guaranteed. And when you sell white labeled products or services, you don't need to build the business. You don't need a physical location. You don't need to pay rent. You don't need to have machinery if that's necessary to produce the product. You don't have to have any of the associated costs of the business because the white labeling entity foots those costs. You are just reselling their products and putting your brand on them. That's what white labeling is. We talked a little bit about SEO earlier. That is the art and science of what I do to help websites rank highly for specific search terms. Any of you could sell my SEO services as a white labeled product. And, I don't care where my clients come from. If someone is willing to pay my rate, every person out there that I have selling my products for me means less time I have to spend looking for new clients. So that's the hand in glove relationship of white labeling. If you have a high value, high quality product, you can focus on the product. I can focus on being the best SEO engineer on earth, and I don't have to hunt down clients because I rely on my 5,000 white label service resellers. They are the ones who find my clients for me, which enables me to more heavily specialize on refining and making the best product I can. So that's how the white labeling process works and how it fits hand in glove. You need people selling, specialists who are salespeople essentially. And that's gonna. Sorry, just 1 second so I can. Apologies for that noise. Sorry, I've got some crypto trading stuff that's giving me alerts. Oh no. Stop that. Which one of these is it? I'm sorry, guys. I apologize for this. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. I did some crypto trading and forgot to turn those off before I started this. Okay, we were talking about white labeling. Okay, so here's an example of an SEO company that relies on white label resellers to sell their products for them. I will put a link to them in the chat there. And yeah, so basically, as a white label business reseller, the thing that you want to pay attention to most is that you're selling a high quality product. Because if it is a high quality product or service, it will sell itself. So the SEO reseller, I think it was SEOreseller.com. They do good work. They've got, hundreds of clients worldwide, very good reputation in the industry. So they do good work. So if you're trying to sell SEO services, you don't have to worry about the fact that they're going to, drop the ball and make you look like an idiot because what the product they sell is junk or doesn't work. So as a white label reseller, it's your job to vet the product supplier. And so that can mean that you have to have some expertise in the product or service you're reselling, because if you don't know anything about SEO, how can you judge whether or not SEO reseller is good or crap? You can't. So you do kind of have to have some expertise in something to be a good reseller of it. And I do have an article about starting your own white labeling business, which I will post in addition to the SEO reseller. There you go. And finally, our last one of the night. Wow. Yikes. 2.5 hours. Ugh. And what number was that? Writing articles for companies. Okay. Yeah, people like I said, people have been writing articles ever since the newspaper was invented. You know, I don't actually know when it was invented, but there was a town crier 1,000 years ago was telling people about the news. Businesses hire freelance writers to help them execute their content strategy and help them increase their credibility with people who visit either their social media platforms or their website, or email marketing is another thing that you need to write content for. So if you've ever seen those email marketing campaigns where people are trying to sell you stuff via email messages, there are people who are being paid to write those messages. Freelance article writers use all sorts of different tactics to find clients. I personally am very big on Upwork.com, and I probably wrote, I don't even know, 10 or 15,000 articles for people on Fiverr back in the day when I was just getting started. And I started out charging $5 a piece for them on Fiverr, and then worked my way up to charging $50 a piece for them by the time I had sold several thousand with basically perfect ratings. So, different strategies you can use to get started. I never really maintained a personal blog or website. I'm a pretty private person. I have no personal social media accounts. I don't like doing that sort of stuff. But I do have a popular freelance writer here, and she gets her clients basically through this website she wrote. So she is a ghostwriter, and you can go check out her website, and she gets clients that way. I get mine through job services like Upwork and Fiverr. And there are additional ways to get put in contact with people as well. At this point, almost all of my work is through referral. So, business investors and business executives know other business executives, and when people are coming up with new ideas, they talk with each other. I stay away from all social media personally, but LinkedIn is a good example. And I think something like 80% of my new clients are referrals from previously satisfied clients at this point. Now, you can't do that out of the box. Obviously, you have to build up a reputation as a good writer before you can do that. But you could follow Elna Kane's example, maintain your own website. You could do your own blog. You could set up your own social media stuff. You could be a YouTube video person on the subject. You could follow my lead and do Upwork or Fiverr, build your reputation that way. Many, 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 many different ways to become a freelance writer. And one of the coolest things about it is that you can. So, for example, when I come to visit y'all in the Philippines, I'm going to bring my laptop with me, and I'll be able to work. I'll stay there a whole month, and I'll be earning money, writing articles, doing websites for people, all these sorts of things while I'm on vacation at the beach. So it's very cool. And yeah, that's about it. It's a great online money making activity, and I have a guide here about how to get started writing freelance articles for people, which I will copy. Okay, and with that, we're coming up on almost 2.5 hours. Boy, I'm sorry, guys. I really thought this was going to be more like an hour, hour and a half. Ended up going almost twice that long. I hope you found everything informative. And yeah, if there's interest, I will go ahead and create another event in WagMe and post it. I'll probably need a week to let my voice recover from talking nonstop for so long. But if there is interest, we will go ahead and do a second episode of this in a week or two, where I will give you guys 50 more ideas. And I hope you found it interesting, entertaining, and informative. I'll also post a link to my personal Discord here. So I've got my PegXE scholars in here, but I would like to get people who follow my YouTube channel, and they can come in here and talk to any of my, or talk to me about any of my content as well. So there is a link to my personal Discord channel. Feel free to drop in and say hello. And it's also 2:30 a.m. for me now, so I'm getting a little tired. And thank you for spending this afternoon with me. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch me. I hope you found it informative and that you all have a wonderful week. Take care, and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye now.